Welcome to InfoHub Recap, where we look back at the past week's main issues. In our headlines, Speaker of the House upbraids PPP MP for breach of privilege. Minister of Citizenship leads team that reaches out to Venezuelan migrants. First Freedom Fest held to raise awareness of trafficking in persons. 180 years of emancipation observed, and the Lindo Creek Commission of Inquiry's report is handed over to President David Granger. These stories and much more in this week's InfoHub Recap. First, we tell you that government has reached out to Venezuelan migrants who crossed the border to escape economic hardships in their home country. A team led by Minister of Citizenship Winston Felix and including the CDC distributed much-needed supplies to the migrants. Anara Khan was at the border region and brings us our first report.
The three-day exercise began last Thursday and was led by Minister of Citizenship Winston Felix. The team comprised of Civil Defense Commission, the International Organization for Migration, and Public Health Ministry representatives and other stakeholders. CDC's Acting Director General, Lieutenant Colonel Kester Craig, noted that it was aimed at providing relief to the Venezuelan migrants as well as those who have been accommodating them for the past few weeks. Regional Chairman, Region 1, Brent Noll Ashley, lauded the initiative.
I view this entire activity or exercise as one that is welcoming, since we've had a large number of Warao brothers and sisters coming from the Amakurun or Noko. As a region, we are grateful. The RDC is very grateful to the Civil Defense Commission, as well as the International Organization for Migration, which would have come on board.
The exercise saw migrant families in Cans Hill, Powaikuru, Kamwata, Imbotero, and Smith Creek receiving much-needed supplies. These included tarpaulins, food and sanitation items, and baby supplies. Heads of the Amerindian settlements also thanked CDC and IOM for the distributions.
I admire that something what never happened in this place today. And I'm much happy with who do that, with that.
This is a great gift and a blessing, I must say, for these people that came from Venezuela.
Well, I feel really content, real nice for these gifts. So thank you for all these gifts, sir.
The items distributed were procured by the CDC, IOM, and UNICEF. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
Quality education is a top priority of the coalition government. This was the assurance given by Minister of State Joseph Harmon to residents of Region 3 as he joined in honoring the region's top 10 NGSA students.
The minister reiterated the government's stance at a ceremony to honor the top 10 National Grade 6 assessment performers in Region 3 at the region's Education Department. Minister Harmon said this is evident in the resources allocated to the education sector.
The efforts that have been made to improve our educational system through the use of technology, such as smart classrooms, and I'm advised is available to some of the schools in Region 3 through MSER, as well as technical programs as the Success Maker, which allows students to do classwork on computers.
He also highlighted the region's significant developments in information communication and technology. Senior Education Officer Carol Ben told the students opportunities are now boundless.
Your success is, however, not only measured on your education. You need to become rounded citizens of your country. And so you need to get involved in youth clubs. You need to get involved in other extracurricular activities. Play games, a game of football, a game of cricket. Join the karate club or the dance class. Ensure that you get involved and make yourself rounded, regardless of whichever school you were placed.
At the end of the ceremony, the top 10 students received tokens for their outstanding performance. Renetta LaFleur for InfoHub.
Patrons were treated to an extraordinary array of products by 65 local agro-processors who participated in the uncapped marketplace. This year, the food festival was taken to the west side at the Leonora Stadium on Saturday. Crystal Stoll was there.
Patron Soraya Ramkisoon was amazed by the range of items local agro-processors exhibit at these homegrown food festivals.
I think it's a really good opportunity for local agro-processors. Like, I'm a big fan of Morning Glory. Recently they've been sold out in supermarkets, so as soon as I saw it here I bought 2 boxes. I'm also a big fan of S&S barbecue sauce. I tried the tamarind flavor and today I'm trying the golden apple. So I think it's a really good forum for the high quality agro-processors to, display their products and for the others to come up to that standard.
Also taking the opportunity to purchase several of the local goods at the event was Miss Earth Guyana 2018, Zamira Kippins.
I think it's a perfect opportunity for the locals to showcase what Guyana has to offer. It shows how blessed we are, and we are very much capable of producing these exact things that we would buy in the store from other places.
This is the second uncapped marketplace event to be held by the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association in 2018. GMSA's first Vice President, Ramsey Ali, said the plan is to host the event in various regions.
If you were to look at the businesses that are here today, and you looked at them a year ago, you can see the difference and the improvement they've made in their packaging and in their products.
Exhibiting products at the event were Deacon's Spices, Cheryl's Cosmetics, Morning Glory Cereal Factory, and Country Style Delicious Biscuits, to name a few. According to Ali, the next uncapped marketplace will be held in Berbice in October as part of the Agriculture Month activities. Crystal Stahl for InfoHub.
Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Barton Scotland, warned the House that allegations of impartiality by the Speaker can be treated as a breach of privilege and may be punished in accordance with the standing orders. The Speaker, at the 95th sitting of the National Assembly held Monday, referred to a letter published in the dailies by opposition MP Harry Gill, which had made allegations against the Speaker of the House in his personal and professional capacities. More in this report.
Dr. Scotland said MP Gill could have moved a motion as provided for in the standing orders. Instead, he proceeded to make public his discontent. This sort of behavior, Dr. Scotland cautioned, was totally impermissible in the House. He reminded of the powers vested in the Speaker.
His action cannot be criticized incidentally in debate or upon any form of proceeding except a substantive motion. His authority in the chair is fortified by many special powers which are referred to elsewhere.
The Speaker noted that this is the second occasion in 2 years where such disregard for the House has been displayed by MPs. Dr. Scotland believes that silence by previous speakers may have emboldened MP Gill. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu emphasized the need for appropriate measures to ensure that there is no continuation of this behavior in the National Assembly.
The post of the Speaker of the National Assembly is a statutory position, and we consider that the attack, not by way of a motion in keeping with the provisions of our standing orders, would require appropriate measures to ensure that there should be not only a continuation and proliferation of such assault on the integrity of our National Assembly, but to ensure that appropriate measures are taken on the provisions of our standing order, more particularly Standing Order 91, where a matter should be referred for the attention it deserves on merit.
The reception by the opposition side of the House, the PM noted, demonstrates that the alleged offender, MP Gill, is politically protected. The matter has been sent to the Committee of Privileges for consideration. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
On Tuesday, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu pledged support for the University of Ghana's Constitutional Education Project after a meeting with the institution's administrators. Here's this report.
The University of Guyana Principal and Vice Chancellor Professor Ivlaw Griffith and Deputy Vice Chancellor Planning and International Engagement Dr. Barbara Reynolds this morning met with Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu at his office. The meeting centered around the university's Constitutional Education Project, to which Prime Minister Nagamutu pledged financial, technical and and logistics support. The UG project proposes a nationwide public education campaign led by the University of Guyana with civil society's involvement. Prime Minister Nagamutu said the initiative has his office full support.
We want to be able to contribute to the sensitizing program. We want to contribute to the educational program to deal with the issue that raised that Guyanese don't know what is in their constitution for a start.
One of the main components of the project is a countrywide survey. The survey would gauge the levels of knowledge and understanding of the Constitution and constitutional reform, while also identifying key areas for reform. Professor Ivelaw Griffith.
Critical to the education component of this is a survey. To really have a baseline sense of what people know, what people don't know.
Yes.
We didn't think it was a good idea to go spend money starting educating without having an understanding across the nation, because we don't want this just to be a coastal exercise, just to be a region 4, region 5, region 6. So part of the design of this is to first do a survey, have a sense of what are the information gaps in what communities, and then build a communications education plan.
The project is expected to be rolled out over a 2-year period, 2018-2019, with the aim of fostering informed dialogue and educating the public on constitutional issues. Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu also donated a sum of his extensive book collection to the university. Gabriela Patram for InfoHub.
The Ministry of Public Telecommunications noted the publication of a notice to mariners November 15, 2018 by the Maritime Administration Department indicating that maritime surveys shall be conducted by 2 vessels, and I quote, on behalf of eNetworks Incorporated as preparatory works for subsea cable laying within the Guyana Maritime Zone, end of quote. The ministry wishes to advise that while the interest of investors in the sector is welcome, no license for the laying and landing of a subsea cable system has been granted to eNetworks Incorporated. The ministry has advised that applications for licenses to lay and land subsea cable systems and or other major telecommunications operations by any entity that does not currently hold a telecommunications license will be considered in accordance with the provisions of the Telecommunications Act 2016. 2 new radio stations are expected to be on air by August this year, and the Guyana National Broadcasting Authority visited the recently licensed broadcasters to check on the progress being made. Here's that report from Anara Khan.
2 more licensed radio stations are expected to go on air by the end of August 2018 and 1 by December 2018. These are Brutal Communications Incorporated of Brutal Track Records and Blackman & Sons Incorporated. During a follow-up visit by the Guyana National Broadcasting Agency, Chairman Leslie Sobers stated that they were given until the end of July to have their operations fully established.
We have discovered that that was probably a little too short a time for them, and the extended time is now by August month end.
Sobers said that the purpose of these visits is to ensure that the agencies are working towards a state of readiness.
We expect that the frequencies will be properly utilized in accordance with the license and not be hoarded. So that if we find that a broadcaster is not using his frequency, we may be inclined to revoke the license. And with the revocation of the license, then the frequency would have to be withdrawn.
The GNBA chairman visited 5 out of the 6 newly licensed radio stations today, but was only able to meet with 3 of the 5 broadcasters. It was noted that due to unforeseen circumstances, CNS Inc. is set to start broadcasting in December 2018. For InfoHub, Anara Khan.
For the first time, sandpit operators will receive formal training from the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, GGMC, as part of reforming quarrying operations. Here's this Tiffany Rodias report.
Ministry and GGMC officials met with sandpit operators today. Minister within the Ministry of Natural Resources, Simona Brooms, said training is one aspect the ministry will explore. The training will include setting up safe operations and calculations for quantities extracted.
I'm going to recommend that when we go on site also in these pit, the officers, talk to the persons on ground, say, listen, this is what we're measuring, this is how it is done. So even practically, on ground, they can get, start to have some training in that regard.
Minister Brooms is leading efforts to ensure greater compliance in the quarrying sector. She's also seeking to have outstanding royalties which are owed to GGMC paid. The GGMC is mulling reintroducing a monthly payment system, according to Acting Mines Manager Krishna Ramdas.
We have devised a system where we have set out a payment slip system. On a monthly basis, the operator would purchase a payment book from us, and they would use slips. I don't know if you guys could recall this. And what that really did, was to, at the end of the month, they would have to come and redeem that book or slips to GGMC and pay off their royalty for that month. You had a 5-day grace that led you into the next month.
Many of the quarry operators the minister met with agreed to work with the ministry to ensure greater compliance in their operations. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Guyanese have been assured of the coalition government's unwavering commitment to their social and economic well-being. This assurance was given by Minister of State Joseph Harmon, who ushered in emancipation celebrations on Tuesday. Stacey tells us more.
Minister Harmon at Buxton's Emancipation Cultural Extravaganza Tuesday evening said this administration will restore hope in villages and other communities.
We have now a new hope. We have a new flicker. We have a light that is going to shine bright on this village of Buxton. We are now on the cusp of the discovery of oil. And we want you to understand that the revenue from this oil is going to be used to ensure that the village economies are taken care of. We are going to ensure that the infrastructure of the villages are taken care of.
The dismantling of the cooperative movement the minister described as another ill-fated act under the previous government.
By 1989, we had 1,444 cooperative societies in this country. By 2016, the PBP had actually shut down or made some of them dysfunctional. At least 130 of those societies were shut down. Since 2016, we have established in the government a unit, an interim management committee for the co-op societies that has actually seen over the last year over 140 cooperative societies either re-established or new ones formed.
At present, there are approximately 1,436 co-op societies in operation countrywide. Turning his attention to emancipation and its symbolism, Minister Harmon called on those gathered to free themselves of the mental shackles, similar to how their ancestors were freed legally and physically from slavery. The event featured several cultural presentations, including the singing of folk songs, dancing, drumming, poetry, and more. For InfoHub, Stacey Carmichael.
On Wednesday, August 1, the nation joined the Caribbean region in celebrating 180 years of freedom from slavery. President David Granger made a call on Guyanese to be economically emancipated as he celebrated the 180th anniversary of the abolition of slavery with the people of the east coast of Demerara and Berbice.
Economic emancipation was the charge from President David Granger as he observed Emancipation Day in a number of villages.
The first message of emancipation, economic emancipation, is education. The second is employment, that you must seek to employ yourselves in your villages, in your communities, in your regions. And the third is that you must become entrepreneurs so that when opportunities come in the gold industry, in the petroleum industry, in the bauxite industry, in the timber industry, we have technically qualified young men and women who can go and occupy those positions. We must empower and educate our own sons and daughters to do that.
On the eve of Emancipation Day, the president was in Betterville celebrating Cultural Night with the 8th of May movement. The president began his Emancipation Day celebrations in Plaisance with his customary attendance to the church service at the Glory Life Tabernacle. He concluded his Emancipation Day celebrations at a festival held in number 53 Union Village, Quarantine, Berbice. The president reminded residents villages are the cradle of the nation and is built on the pillars of home, church, school, and the farm.
Today too, there should be no reason why any young person should be living at a street corner when we have abundant lands in the back dams. These villages produce not only farmers, but artisans, tinsmiths, joiners, carpenters, masons, plumbers. And we must continue to strengthen our villages and make them self-reliant.
The president noted Guyana's future is bright, but cautioned Guyanese will lose the advantage if they allow their villages to degenerate into dormitories. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Meanwhile, on his visit to Quarantine Berbice, the president, as part of his 5Bs program, donated 25 bicycles to assist with transportation to and from schools.
President Granger said the donation is part of ensuring every child goes to school and receives an education.
No child must be so hungry that he or she cannot get to school. No child must be so poor that he or she cannot afford transportation to go to school.
Many children countrywide are now accessing education with free transportation provided by 27 buses and hundreds of bicycles through the President's 5B initiative. Boats were also provided to riverine communities in Essequibo, Berbice, Pomeroon and Demerara.
Every child, every Guyanese child must go to school. No more dropouts, no more skulking.
The president called on all residents to personally ensure every child is in school as part of efforts to eliminate illiteracy, truancy and delinquency. For InfoHub, Tiffany Rogers.
Still recapping the emancipation celebrations, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu joined hundreds of Guyanese at the National Park, where he urged Guyanese of African descent to not forget their past, but also to look towards seizing opportunities. Here's more.
The Prime Minister said that while we reflect on the past, there's also need for introspection.
Guyana now is poised on moving forward its economy forward. While in the past we had Africans who were brought here as human cargoes, we have to look at how to convert the human cargoes into human capital to help to build the basis, the scientific, technological, educational, cultural basis on which we can move our economy forward and we can make this country a paradise.
Referencing to the production of forced oil in Guyana in 2020, the Prime Minister said there must be substance to the freedom achieved.
We have to now give content to what is it to be free. Is it free and be poor? Is it free and be miserly? Is it free and be beggarly? Or is it free and have pride, dignity, self-worth, and wealth? And so I feel that we need to move forward with optimism, with confidence.
The event saw Guyanese from across the country coming together to celebrate the end of inhumane enslavement which occurred in Guyana and the rest of the Caribbean 180 years ago. Isaiah Braffett for InfoHub.
On Thursday, President David Granger received a final report from the Commission of Inquiry he established to search for the truth behind the 2008 Lindo Creek massacre. The details in this Alexis Rodney report.
The truth surrounding the June 2008 killings of Dax and Cedric Arokiam, Lancelot Lee, Bonnie Harry, Horace Drakes, Compton Spears, Nigel Torres, and Clifton Berrybong could have already been found had the President and other senior public officials at the time pursued it. Today, the final report of a commission of inquiry set up by President David Granger was handed over by Commission's Chairman Donald Trotman. Receiving the report, President Granger said the country will always remember the deadly decade in the early 2000s, where 1,317 persons were murdered and 7,865 armed robberies committed, a time he has described as the Troubles. President Granger said will never occur again.
My government will spare no effort to expose the intellectual authors and the perpetrators of such deadly violence. The truth of the Troubles must be determined in order to reinforce our regard for the sanctity of life.
President Granger reminded that the Constitution allows persons to have the right to life. This was, however, snatched from a group of innocent men seeking out an honest living. Commission's chairman, retired Justice Donald Trotman, said a part of the recommendation encourages the government to reopen parts of the investigation that was undertaken before the commencement of this COI. This, he said, will allow for explanations to be given by officials about their actions or inactions at the time.
That would include persons who were performing the duties of President, Commissioner of Police, Minister of Home Affairs, and other, the GDF and other relevant officers around the particular time.
The COI was established to investigate and make findings of fact on all matters in relation to the killings of the 8 miners in the Upper Demerara, Upper Berbice region in June 2008. Reporting for InfoHub, Alexis Rodney.
The rule of law and the Caribbean Court of Justice's influence will play an important part in ensuring the benefits of Guyana's emerging oil and gas sector are widespread and sustainable. This was according to CCJ President Justice Adrian Saunders.
Justice Saunders gave his opinion at the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association Business Luncheon Thursday at the Bexus Hotel. He said that economic progress that will be derived from the oil and gas sector can be thwarted or it can be significantly enhanced with good governance and faithful adherence to the rule of law.
CCJ has particular relevance to Guyana at this time, as Sham pointed out. Guyana is currently very well poised for serious economic takeoff. All the indicators suggest that the economic prospects for this country could easily make it the envy of its CARICOM sister states, including Trinidad and Tobago, the envy of some Latin American states as well. The basic ingredients are present for this to occur. All of these things provide rich raw material for tremendous social and economic progress. But that progress can be thwarted, or it can be significantly enhanced with good governance and faithful adherence to the rule of law.
Justice Saunders stated that the rule of law in this sense implies legal accountability, fairness, respect for minorities, the observance of human rights, judicial independence, separation of powers, and equality. Justice Saunders pointed out that ultimately the people will look to the CCJ and local courts for the establishment of proper standards.
In a multi-ethnic and multicultural society as Guyana is, those courts will have a special responsibility to ensure equality of treatment.
GMSA's President Sham Nocta noted that accessing regional markets through the CSME had been very challenging over the past years. He added, with the emerging oil and gas industry, these issues will continue to attract the attention of the CCJ. Also present at the event were Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Basil Williams, Minister of Public Security, who is currently performing the functions of Prime Minister Kemet Ramchatan, and Minister of Public Telecommunication Catherine Hughes. Seneca Thorne, InfoHub.
The People's National Congress Reform, PNCR, will be holding its annual commemoration exercise of the 33rd death anniversary of the founder, leader, and Guyana's first executive president, Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, OESC, on Monday, 6th August 2008. A floral tribute ceremony at the Mausoleum, Place of Heroes, Seven Ponds Botanical Gardens, will be held at 7 hours on the same morning. Before we go, the Guyana Elections Commission is warning persons not to give out any personal information via the telephone to anonymous callers claiming to be elections officials. GCOM is not conducting any such exercise. The authorities are aware of these fake calls and are investigating the matter. You have been watching InfoHub Recap, where we share the past week's top stories. Goodbye.